So I'm with Jesus again. He said, have I ever told you the story of John 8? Of course, I felt so humbled, and I said, I've read it, but I had just learned it was best to say, no, you haven't. Because it was just Peter's humility, or who are you, Jesus? Peter thought he knew everything. And it's so good to sometimes know when you look in somebody's eyes, they mean something totally different. And that's what my mind races to the concept, and I'll say, I don't know that. I can remember my father saying, when I was 12, I was the smartest kid in the universe, I thought. And my dad would share a concept. And I'd say, I know that, Dad. And he had paid a dear price for that understanding and looked at me and said, Bobby, I know. In this particular time, it was about understanding my mother. It was pains that were trying to make her not the same. And he was asking me to understand, but it wasn't until years later that I came back to him, and I had saw my mom's pain, but saw her fighting the good fight. In standing, she succeeded. That sometimes it's just, you're not moving, you're not going anywhere backwards, but it just takes all your strength to stand and breathe. And I went back to my dad and I said, Dad, I think I know a little better what you were saying. So Jesus was saying, I know. Or when he asked me, have I ever told you the story about? Well, I knew that I'd read Ecclesiastes where there was nothing new under the sun, but I knew that was from a man that had lost his way and his faith and just was living out a pragmatic life. Because it's like the angels 24 hours a day, they say, holy, it says, before the throne. Holy. Well, you think that's repetitious. No, it's deeper. Every time I say it, we're getting a deeper revelation of his beauty. It's like, holy wow. Holy wow. Holy wow. Your affection, your beauty, wow. Your compassion, wow. Your comfort, wow. Your friendship, your delight, your effervescent, wow. That discovery of love they can do 24 hours a day for all the ages. That's going to be my job in heaven. And for the rest of my life, is just look at him and say, wow. Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's good enough. That's better than good enough. So we went together and I said, no, you've never told me the story of John 8. And I knew he had just opened up the door to appreciative love, but now he was walking me into it. And I come and I'm just going to cut to the chase, make this one short, but with deep penetrating arrows to my heart. And so I walk up and I see these older Pharisees, these younger ones, and Sadducees, and they all get stones, and they're ready to stone a woman that they had caught in a very act of prostitution. I could see her, and just that dark defilement that tries to devalue a human being on their own side through others. But he was looking with that appreciative love. I couldn't imagine that he'd really apply it this way. And they said they're so happy he walked up because they wanted to catch him and false doctrine. So they said, what's the Levitical law say about finding a woman caught in the act? And didn't write, or he didn't answer. He sit there and wrote down in the sand because they had their stones in their hand. In the Levitical law, you take them to the edge of town, you stone them. What he write in the sand, I got to see it, and this is not written out in the Bible, but this is what I saw, and I don't find any commentator that agrees with me, but I think he can give us a deeper understanding of what he was doing there, and that wisdom could have two sides. They have not conflicting understandings, but deeper. But the Pharisees generally say that he wrote their sins in the sand. That's what about the Pharisees, and said he is without sin, cast the first stone, but that was not it. There's a meaning behind words. They're denotations and connotations. Denotations is the literal definition. Connotations is what it implies. And they have power, words, to label people or to discover them. So he writes in the sand, princess, queen, the beautiful one, the attractive one, the caring one, the pure one. And he's writing about the prostitute in people's eyes, but he's going to her original design. He came to save to the uttermost the seed of beauty that he created in her, and all the hell and all the dirt couldn't stop that seed from coming forth as he wrote it in sand. They gasp. And then it says the older Pharisees dropped their rocks because they saw the discovery of this person, this beauty, and it just, for a moment, says a lot of those were saved 70 years later in the book of Acts. It was a seed that was like a hot coal, burned out the dross on their heart. And I saw the wonder of what he had created, and they couldn't throw a stone at that. And then the young ones stayed, and some of the older ones. And he wrote nobleman. He wrote non-pretentious, altogether authentic. And the rest that had the stones, they dropped them because he was describing them. And through their religious zeal, they got harsh and tried to cut corners. But love takes the long way around. And love for themselves has to take the long way around. They wrote their names, Nicodemus, you're this one. He wrote their beauty. And they saw themselves for the first time through his eyes. But when they looked into his eyes, they were stunned that he had the ability to crown them and authority to do that. Whatever he said about them was true. Everything else was a lie. But then they saw something that stunned them. They not only saw his authority and the wonder of him, but they saw themselves the first time through his eyes, and they lost their breath. And they were set free to be who they were really called to be. Took some years, but it was just a moment in heaven's eyes. And it all transformed by appreciative, burning love. What a discovery. The rest of my life that I knew after that encounter, that I was committed to that. And I knew that his seed of love was powerful in years of darkness.